Okay, good evening everyone, and we're holding over here in PARSHAS CHUKAS, and this is one of the PARSHAs that very difficult things take place that are hard to understand, and I don't know, we'll call it a downfall, but it's the unfortunate mistake of Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's Parsha, which costs him and Arna Kain the schus to be able to go into Eretz Yisrael. And it's a very big deal and a very big discussion in the Rishonim, in the Mefarshim. What exactly did Moshe Rabbeinu do that was so terrible that forfeited him a place in Eretz Yisrael? If we look in the Psukim, however, we know it's where the Klal Yisrael is complaining as they do so well, and they're complaining that there's no water, they're thirsty, Miriam has died, the bear Shal Miriam is gone. They begin to realize that they don't have any water, and they begin crying to Moshe Rabbeinu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, listen Moshe, you're going to go, and you're going to take your mat, you're going to take your staff, and you're going to help to bring the water out of the rock. You're going to speak to the rock, and the rock will then begin to give over its flowing waters. And if you'll do that, it'll be an amazing, amazing Kiddush Hashem that you're going to make. So we all know the story. Moshe Rabbeinu comes, and the Jewish people are complaining, and he gets a little bit upset with them. Moshe Rabbeinu gets upset with them, and he tells them, "Yiga Moshe zamantiv le Hashem," and he takes the mata that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded him to take. Vayakilu Moshe v'Aaron es hakahal. They gather everybody together, and he says, "Shimona Amarim, you rebellious ones," because the Klal Yisrael is complaining. You rebellious ones. Minasela zeh noitzeh lechamayim. We're going to bring you water from this rock. V'yara Moshe's yadai. Moshe decides to pick up his hand. V'yaches hasel, and he hits the rock with his stick. Pa'amayim, not once but twice. V'yetzu mayim rabim v'teish ta'eda. Everybody drinks. Ubirim and the cattle. Everybody drinks, and they're all now satisfied. Pretty miraculous. We're not in the habit of hitting rocks, and water comes out of the rocks, and you can feed an entire nation of people. So Moshe Rabbeinu seemed to get a little bit agitated. Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock. He didn't talk to the rock. But at the end of the day, Moshe Rabbeinu is the emissary of Hashem. He was able to bring water out of the rock. Klal Yisrael sees miracles are still following them in the desert. So what's the big deal? What did Moshe Rabbeinu do that is wrong? V'yorm Hashem el Moshe v'el Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron, Yan, lo mantem bi. Since, and this is a question exactly how you translate these words, since either you did not believe in me yourself, or you did not cause the Jewish people to believe in me, l'akdisheni le'enei b'nei Yisrael, to sanctify me in the eyes of Klal Yisrael, l'chein lo'isavio l'kahal hazeh la'aretz asher nasati lem, you now will no longer be able to bring them into Eretz Yisrael, into the Holy Land. And the Mefarshim all over here ask, what did Moshe Rabbeinu do that caused him to look like in the eyes of Hashem that he didn't believe in Hashem? And what did Moshe Rabbeinu do that was so terrible that because he hit the rock and the water came out of the rock, so therefore Klal Yisrael didn't believe in him? I mean, if you hit a rock and water comes out of the rock, and everybody knows that you're acting on behalf of Hashem, doesn't everybody realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who did this, and therefore you should believe in Hashem? What did Moshe Rabbeinu do that was so terrible that caused him to be chastised by the Ribbono Shel Olam? He's told in very harsh terms, you were not Mekadesh, you did not sanctify my name, and therefore you did not believe in me, and Klal Yisrael did not believe in me. And because of that, I'm going to give you the most extreme punishment. And that punishment is, you are not going to be the one to carry Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. The Moshe Rabbeinu, that was so terrible. So this, like I said, is not my question. This is the question of all of the Mefarshim, all the commentators over here ask this question. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh brings down 10 different opinions on this question. He doesn't like any of the opinions, and he goes on to his own pshat, how he understands. But I just want to share with you one of the famous opinions that the Or HaChaim brings down, and that's what I'd like to discuss tonight. Says the Or HaChaim, he's quoting in his sixth opinion of what it is that Moshe Rabbeinu did wrong. He quotes the words of the Rambam. And the Rambam says, what was the terrible sin of Moshe Rabbeinu? What did he do that was so terrible that caused him to lose out on the great schus to bring Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael? Perush ki hikpin Hashem alav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset with him. Ala asher nisrages ala eda, because he got angry with Klal Yisrael. The reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was so disappointed and he was so makbid, he was so strict with Moshe Rabbeinu was because Moshe was nisrages. He got angry at the Jewish people. Umisi bezu, and because that Moshe Rabbeinu got angry with Klal Yisrael, chashvu, they began to think, Gam Hashem bekas imayim, Hashem must be angry with us as well. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Moshe Rabbeinu does, he's an emissary of Hashem. Every time that Moshe Rabbeinu opens his mouth, he's a Navi. He's only talking what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants him to say. Whatever action Moshe Rabbeinu does, how he behaves in response to Klal Yisrael, he is a shaliach, he's the messenger of Hashem, he's representing Hashem's deepest desires in this world. If Moshe got upset with us, that must mean that Hashem is upset with us. And therefore he says, Asher loichein haya, and it's not true. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not angry with Klal Yisrael at this time. And Moshe was nisrages. Moshe Rabbeinu got angry and upset on his own. And as a result of the anger that Moshe Rabbeinu expressed to Klal Yisrael, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you showed that you do not believe in me. Now we'll have to understand why that is. And you made it that Klal Yisrael lo himantebi would not believe in me as well. And therefore you are not going to be able to carry the Jewish people into the land of Israel. Yes, Edwin.
I'm sure you learned somewhere, and with you also, maybe last year we discussed this, that Moshe didn't get angry with anything. He always managed to control his temper.
Correct. Well, I mean, how do you understand the words? Hashem told him, I want you to talk to the rock. Speak gently, speak kindly, and the water is going to come out by itself. The Jewish people now are acting up, and Moshe Rabbeinu says in no uncertain terms, Shimuna Hamorim, the rebellious people, listen to what I have to say. And he seems to be very agitated. And instead of talking to the rock, what does he end up doing? Instead of talking to the rock, he takes his staff and he hits it not once, but twice, and only then does the water begin to come out. So that's not anger? Right. I mean, up until this point, you are correct. Up until this point, Moshe Rabbeinu, although the Jewish people were driving him absolutely crazy in the midbar, he never once lost his temper. He had what's called chalishas hadas. He got weakened by their complaints. He got disappointed in what they did. He did complain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what kind of a nation did you ask me to take out of Mitzrayim? All that is true. But at the end of the day, Moshe Rabbeinu never expressed 1 ounce of anger. He was the humblest of all men that were there in the world. And as a result, he was able to be civil. He was able to handle all of the hardships that Klal Yisrael put him through. But over here, in this particular case, Moshe Rabbeinu seemed to exhibit some roiges, some anger. Yeah.
And weren't on Israel mitlonim? I mean, this was a real complaint. They needed water, and they're not mitonim here. Why did he call them rebels?
Well, let's keep in mind that until this point, the well of Miriam is following them around everywhere that they go. So they have water.
But they don't anymore.
They don't anymore because, as Rashi points out, they did not appreciate that all of these years that Miriam was living amongst them, that the well of Miriam was taking care of them. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu took it away for a moment, for them to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been providing them with water all of this time. And just as He took care of them until that point, they should have realized that Hashem will take care of us now. So you don't start going into chaos, and you don't start getting upset, and you don't start bothering Moshe Rabbeinu because you don't have water. You wait your time. The water is going to come. You turn on the pipes are going to work, and there'll be water for Klal Yisrael. He certainly didn't bring them to this point in the wilderness to cause them to die of a lack of hydration. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu was getting very disturbed by the nature and the actions of the Jewish people, and he calls them Hamorim. He calls them these rebellious people that are not appreciating everything that Hashem does. So the Rambam says, so what was the chait? What was the sin of Moshe Rabbeinu? The sin is that he got angry. The first time in his life that he exhibited any ounce of what we call a human being. He was way above everything all of his life. This one time he exhibits anger. Now remember also that if Moshe Rabbeinu getting angry is not like the anger of you and I, which means that even though it looks like Moshe Rabbeinu, he hit the rock, we can't imagine Moshe Rabbeinu with the nasty face that we make when we get upset and we start hitting and we start banging on something or we start getting upset with somebody. We make ugly faces. Our veins start popping out of our neck. We're going to, that's how we get when we get angry. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't an animal like us. Moshe Rabbeinu was not a man that lost his midos, lost himself. Moshe Rabbeinu was taking his frustration, whatever that means, on Klal Yisrael. And when he banged on the rock, we probably have to imagine that his face was tranquil, and he was peaceful, and he was doing what he felt that he had to do in order to be able to get the Jewish people on board with understanding Hashem is taking care of them. So even in his anger and his rage, it's not our anger. If you ever saw a person, if you ever looked at yourself in the mirror when you were angry, you'd laugh at yourself. You wouldn't believe, as such a fool I am. Am I actually making that face? Are my nostrils actually flaring that big? Is my face really that red? Are my veins popping out that much? Am I so perturbed? If we'd be able to look at ourselves when we are angry, we would make a mockery out of ourselves. We wouldn't believe such things. Moshe Rabbeinu did not look like that. Moshe Rabbeinu was a calm tzaddik, a navi that was connected to Hashem, and he did what he felt he had to do. It's known that Rav Yisrael Salanter, when he would have to get angry, whatever that means, that Rav Yisrael Salanter would have to get angry. When he would have to get angry, Rav Yisrael Salanter would go and he would put himself into another room and he would say the following: I'm looking like I'm angry, but I'm not really angry. I'm expressing my anger because I have no choice. That's what I have to do in this particular situation, but I'm not really angry. And he worked and he worked and he worked and he worked that he would not be able to get angry, but when time called for it, we had to express certain disappointment with somebody, he would have to give over that kind of a message. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu gets angry, and the anger that Moshe Rabbeinu has, makes it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so this is when he says, Lo himantim bi, you do not believe in me. And, or the way the Ramban and others learn is that you cause that other people do not believe in me. Why is it that the person who gets angry decides that he does not believe in Hashem? Why is it that if you get angry and you get upset with someone or something that is going on in your life, why is that a sign that you do not believe in the Ribbono Shel Olam? So the Bali Musar, the Orchos Tzadikim, and many other Sfarim, they speak about the following concept. And that is that a person who gets angry, a person who allows things to disturb them, someone who allows themselves to get agitated and annoyed by the things and the people that are going on around them, the reason that they are getting angry is because they have decided that everything in life has to work out the way in which they would like it to work out. I don't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world. I don't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pulling all the strings. I don't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making all of the situations that are going on in front of me all of the time. I don't believe in that. I believe that I am in control, and the world should run away according to the way that I want the world to run. And when somebody oversteps my boundaries, and when somebody steps on my toes, and when somebody frustrates me and disappoints me, so then what do? Since that you are violating my Aseres Hadibros, my 10 commandments in life, since that you are violating my space or the way that I want life to work, so therefore what is my response? I am going to get angry and upset with you. You believe in Hashem? If you believe in Hashem, then you would say to yourself, the reason that this person is doing this thing to you right now is because this is what you need to work on your midas. The reason that this person is putting me through this painful experience right now in my life is because this is what I need to become a greater person. The reason that things did not work out as planned, the business deal failed, and the marriage went like this, and the children were like this, the reason it's happening is because it shows I'm in control of nothing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is control of everything in the world. When a person gets angry, and they get frustrated, and they get agitated, and they fly off the handle, it shows, Ki lo yimantim bi, you don't really believe in Hashem. Because if you believed in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you would accept everything that's going on in your life as directly coming from Hashem. There's an amazing interview that you can catch online of Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky, the great Rosh Hashiva, 88 years old, that had a baby, together with his wife, who was 57 years old when they had the child. 88 and 57, you do the math, it's almost impossible. It is impossible. But Hashem made a miracle. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed them with a healthy, beautiful child. Eliyahu should grow up to be from the Tzaddikim and the Gedolei Yisrael. Now, he's being interviewed by this young fellow who is amazed by the Rosh Hashiva. He's 88 years old. His commitment, his tenacity, his energy, he never stopped believing. He's davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, give me a child. He never gave up hope. So, Rav Tzvi Kushelevsky, an 88-year-old man, he's old enough to be the kid's great-grandfather, maybe great-great-grandfather. And he's telling over in this interview that you should know that I trusted in Hashem every single day of my life. And I never got angry. I never got upset. I was never depressed. I was never despondent. And I also never gave up hope. I actually believed that if I keep davening and I keep praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I knew that Hashem is going to answer my prayers. And he says, as a matter of fact, every single day of my life, I felt myself growing in Torah, growing in Avodas Hashem, growing in my midos, growing in my emunah, growing in my bitachon. I felt myself growing and growing and growing and growing. I lived 65 happy years, even though that HaKadosh Baruch Hu never gave me the blessing of having a child. And now that I have one, 88 years old, you should know I never doubted for a moment that Hashem was going to answer my prayers. So the interview is going on, and it's a fascinating, amazing thing. The man never had a day that he was down in his life. He never had a day, an angry day with Hashem. How could you do this? He says he never, he was always happy. So about 15 minutes later in the interview, so the fellow who's interviewing him says, Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Kushalevsky, I'm sure that, all the years, there must have been some difficulties along the way. You must have had a few bad days over there, some down days. Can you tell us and tell the viewers who are listening right now, what did you do when you were down? So I'm listening to this interview, and I'm thinking to myself, did you not hear what he just said? He just said he was happy all the days of his life. He never got down. So the Rosh Hashiva turns to him and says, I'm sorry. You must not have heard what I said. He said, I just told you, I never had a bad day in my life. Every day was besimcha, every day was with joy, because I believe in Hashem. And when you believe in Hashem, you're living in a different world. Say the Bali Musa, the way that they describe the evil of kas, of anger. And that is that when you are a kaisen, when you're an angry person, your anger itself is made, it testifies upon you. You don't really believe in Hashem. Because if you believed in Hashem, you would believe in every situation that you're in life is orchestrated by Hashem. It's for you to work on yourself. It's for you to become a greater person. It's for you to raise the bar of your game in Avodas Hashem, in your midos, in your moon, in your bitachon. It's for you to become greater. And if you're getting angry, and you're getting upset, and you're getting disturbed, it must be a sign that in your amunah, in your faith, you are weak, and you have to strengthen that. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what was so terrible about the fact that you got angry? Lo himantim bi, you did not believe in me, lahakdisheni, in order to sanctify me, le'enei b'nei Yisrael, in the eyes of Klal Yisrael. If they would have seen you, Moshe Rabbeinu, they would have seen you under the pressure. They would have seen you dealing with the nation that doesn't stop complaining. And you would have stayed calm. And you would have gone to the rock. And you would have talked gently to the rock. And you would have said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has commanded you to give forth your flowing waters. Do you know what a Kiddush Hashem that would have been? Do you know how he would have sanctified HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name? But not only did you not believe in me, you caused that the rest of Klal Yisrael also did not fortify their amunah and their belief in me as well. Because instead of seeing a man who controlled himself on your level, Moshe Rabbeinu, on your madrega, they saw a person who got upset. And a person who gets upset is lacking real amunah, lacking real belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a famous story in the Gemara. I'm sure that all of you are well aware of this Maisa. And it's a story with the great Hillel HaZaken, the great Tzaddik Hillel. And it says the following, Maisa b'shnei b'nei Adam, there was a Maisa story that took place with two people. Shehirmu zeh zeh, they made a deal, they made a bet with themselves. And they said, Kol mi sheyelech v'yaknid es Hillel. Anyone who can go to Hillel, the great Hillel, the humble Hillel, the calmest, most tranquil person in the world, and get him angry, Yitol arba meos zuz, the other one will give them 400 zuz, an exorbitant amount of money. So they made a bet. Everybody knew Hillel HaZaken. The anvanusa, the humility of Hillel was like nothing else in the world. So they said, I bet I could be the one that's going to get Hillel angry. So what happens? So Amar, Echamem, Ani Aktinenu. I'm going to be the one that goes and gets him angry. Oh, he said, that was the deal. I'll be the one that goes. I have a way to get Hillel angry. There was some video that came out maybe a year or two ago. There were these yeshiva bachim that went to the Hemsley Palace. But what is it? That's in England over there? The Buckley Palace. Buckingham Palace. And you know that they have the guards are not allowed to have any facial expressions, no emotions, they can't smile, nothing. So these yeshiva bachrim, they decided they're going to get one of the guards to laugh. So this one guy, he's a comedian of a guy, he goes over and he's trying his best. And the guard is holding himself as good as he possibly can. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Finally, this kid does something, and it's so funny. The guard who's in his outfit, it's usher, you get executed if you smile. He ended up starting to crack a smile, and then he laughed, and that was it, game over, he got him. So here you have this one guy who's coming on and says, I'm going to get Hillel. He thinks he's so calm. He thinks he's so humble. He thinks he can't get angry. I'm going to get him angry. So, Oysa Yom Erev Shabbos. He picks the perfect day. Erev Shabbos Kodesh. Everybody knows Friday afternoon. Ooh, the Yetzer Hara is working double time on Friday afternoon. If there's a house that doesn't have one of the husband or the wife screaming, or both of them screaming, or the kids screaming, or chaos and pandemonium breaking out, it's not an Erev Shabbos. So he picks the Erev Shabbos Kodesh, and he comes to the house of Hillel. The Hillel chayfif es roshai. Hillel was in the midst of washing his hair. They didn't wash the way that we wash 5 times a day. They would wash maybe once a week if they were lucky. It was a big ordeal. You had to go down to the bathhouse, heat up the water, pour the water in. It was a big ordeal. So Hillel's getting himself ready to cover Shabbos Kodesh. He's finally enjoying after a long week. Imagine how many hours Hillel had learned. How many hundreds of people that he had taught. How many dozens of shiurim he had given. He was wiped out and worn out. It's Erev Shabbos, Friday afternoon. He has a lot to do. And he's in the midst of washing his hair. And suddenly, halach ve'over al Pesach beisai, and now this one fellow, this jokester over here, wants to get Hillel to get angry. He passes by the front door of Hillel. Omar, and he starts calling out, Mikan Hillel, is Hillel here? Mikan Hillel. Hillel, you call him Hillel? Hillel was the Nasi. Hillel was the leader of Klal Yisrael. He's the Gadol Hador. It's like walking to the house of the Chavetz Chaim and saying, Yisrael Meir is here. Yisrael Meir is here. Who would do such a thing? You would say, excuse me, is the Chavetz Chaim available? He walks to the house, Erev Shabbos. Hillel's busy washing his hair. Hillel's here. Hillel's here. So immediately Hillel wraps himself up and he goes out to see what's going on over here. So Amar Loi Beni, he says, my child, Ma'ata mevakesh, what do you need? Everything okay? You're coming to my house on an Erev Shabbos. You must have a big shayla. What's going on? So Amar Loi, Sheila Yeshli Lisha. I have a big important question to ask you. Now, the language of she'ela, of question, usually has to do with halacha. Somebody comes to bother the Rav on Friday afternoon. So what is he bothering with? He must have a big shayla. The chicken, he doesn't know. Is the chicken kosher, not kosher? He ended up, he doesn't know. Is the Eruv up for Shabbos? Can he walk his baby? He doesn't know. So he's coming to ask a big shayla. So Amaloi, shayla yeshli, I have to ask you a question. So Amaloi, shal beni, ask me, shal, ask. Whatever you need to ask. So he asked him, Mibnei ma reisheim shel bavloyim saglaglois. Why are the heads of the Babylonians so round? This is really bothering me. Hillel, maybe you could answer my question. Why are the heads of the Babylonians so unusually round? So now, if you're Hillel, and you're the Gadol Hador, you're a busy man, you're in the midst of washing your hair, you're getting ready for Shabbos Kodesh, and this wise guy comes and he asks you, yeah, I have a big shayla. I can't go into Shabbos until I know the answer. What is the reason that the heads of the Babylonians are so round? Amar Loi, Hillel said, Beni, my child, she'ela gedola sha'alta. Wow, what a big question you just asked. This is major. And he says, Mibnei she'ein lehem chayos pikchos. The reason is because the midwives in Bavel, in Babylonia, they're not so bright, those midwives, and they apparently don't take the kids out fast enough, and so their heads kind of get like squashed, and therefore they have rounder heads than everybody else? Good question. Thank you for asking. Have a good Shabbos. Oh, says the man, he was not expecting that answer. And he goes away. Says the Gemara, halach hintin sha'achas. He goes and he waits an hour. Let it get closer to Shabbos. Everybody knows the fires of machlekes, of argument, get much worse as you get closer to Shabbos. And he comes back. Chazar mikan Hillel, is Hillel here? Is Hillel here? Nizate v'yatzali krostos. And now somehow Hillel is still washing himself. And he wraps himself up again. Amaloi b'ni matam mevakesh. What do you need? So Amaloi she'elu yesh li shal. I have a big question. Amaloi shel b'ni shal, ask me. And he says, Mibnei ma eneim shel Tarmoidian. There was a nation called Tarmoidian. Why are their eyes, truths, why are their eyes so like glassy and slanty? What's with their eyes? So he says, Shaila Gedei L'Shalta. Wow, what an amazing Shaila. Let me go pull this farm off the shelf. I have to take a look into this and start looking through everything. Mibnei Shedarim Bein Achaylos, because Hashem made a miracle. They live in a very sandy area, and therefore the only way the sand is not going to agitate their eyes is if their eyes are a little bit closed more than other people. So that's why Hashem made it like that. Good question. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Halach v'imdin shachas. He goes and he waits another hour. Chazav v'amar, and he says, Mikan Hillel, is Hillel here? He's trying to really get under his skin. No, you cannot get under Hillel's skin. Nis'ate v'yatzli krosai. Hillel wraps himself up again. He says, yes. What do you need? So Amaloi, he said, I have a big shaila. Amaloi, no, ask me the question. And he says, Mibnei ma ragleim shel Afrikim. Rechavis, why are the feet of the Africans so wide? So Amaloi b'ni shaila gedei l'shal. Wow, what a great question. And he says, Mibnei shedarim bein bitzei amayim, because they live in certain areas where there's a lot of water and they have to walk through over here and there and so on and so forth. And therefore, their feet have become flattened. Amaloi, so he said to him, Shailas harbe yeshli lishoil. I have a lot of questions to ask you, Hillel. However, misyara nishema tichais. Maybe I'm going to get you angry. I realize it's Friday afternoon. You didn't finish getting ready yet. You have a lot to do. You probably have more people you have to see. I'm afraid to ask you. So Nita v'yashal in front of him, and he said, Kol sheilois sheyesh l'chal lishoil sha'al. Whatever questions you have to ask, go ahead. I'm all yours. Amaloi atu Hillel shekar noischa Nasi Yisrael. Are you the Hillel they called Nasi, the leader of Klal Yisrael? Amaloi hein, yes. Amaloi imatu, if you are the one, lo yirbu k'maischa Yisrael. God forbid there should be more people like you amongst Klal Yisrael. So Amaloi b'nimi b'nei, why would you say such a thing? And he says, because shibarati al yodcha arba me'ozuz, because I made a bet with my friend that I would be able to get you angry, and nothing gets you angry. And I lost 400 zuz, an enormous amount of money. So Hillel said to him, Havizar beruchecha, be careful with your spirit, your ruach, your midas, who you are. Kedai hu Hillel sheta'abed al yoda arba me'ozuz va'arba me'ozuz ve'Hillel lo yakpid. It is better that you lost 400 zuz than the Hillel got angry for even a second. Hillel understands whatever is happening in a person's life, HaKadosh Baruch, it's all a test. HaKadosh Baruch is sending it. He's going to make it to see, can you hold on to your midos? Can you hold on to your cool? Or are you going to lose it? What kind of a person are you? Are you a winner or a loser? Are you going to win the battle of anger and hold yourself down and subdue yourself and not let it drive you crazy? Or are you going to lose the battle and you're going to fly off the handle? And then the smoke is going to start shooting out of the nostrils, and your hair is going to start standing on end, and your face is going to start shaking, and you're going to scream and scream and scream and scream. And then what do you accomplish? Everybody around you can't stand you. Your children think you're a lunatic. Your wife doesn't even want to talk to you. What did you gain? Nothing. You lost everything. Moshe Rabbeinu was on the edge of taking Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. He was destined. That was his mission in life. Take them out of Egypt, bring them to Har Sinai, get the Torah, go through the wilderness, and come to Eretz Yisrael. Moshe, you don't believe in me? Of course I believe in you, Hashem. Who doesn't believe in you more than me? I see you, panim, face to face. Moshe, why'd you get angry? Angry? I got angry? Didn't you call them rebellious? Didn't you hit the rock when I told you to talk to the rock? You would have Mekad Hashem Shemayim. You would have sanctified my name. But you got angry. Moshe, you can't be the one that's going to bring Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, because their emunah, their levels of trust in me, in Hashem, their levels of believing in HaKadosh Baruch Hu are going to have to be so high in Eretz Yisrael. And you just showed me that there's a fault in your emunah, in your belief in me, because of your anger. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the punishment is neither you or Aaron are going to take Klal Yisrael into the Holy Land. You're stuck here right now. The Ramban writes in his famous letter to his son, it says, Shenem, he's speaking over there about a nova, about humility, and humility is going to be what's going to conquer all kas, all anger. And he quotes a pasuk in Koheles, V'haser kas milibecha, wipe away anger from your heart, V'havira mibsarecha, and you will remove evil from your skin. And over there we say, what is the ra? Ein ra ella Gehenna, and that means you'll remove yourself from the fires of Gehenna down there if you remove kas, anger from yourself. Says Rav Dan Segal, one of the great mashkichim of our generation, he says you should know Gehenna is not only for down there. When a person leaves this world after 120 years, all the sins that we did, all the mistakes that we made, all the silly things that we were involved with, the fires of Gehenna are going to char us, and they're going to burn out all of the impurities that we have. Says Rav Dan Segal, but Gehenna is not reserved only for there. You could be living Gehenna in this world as well. And a person that is a kaisan, a person that is an angry individual, a person who loses it in the world of anger, you should know that the fires of Gehenna are consuming you here in this world. And therefore a person has to get in control and not let the emotions, not let the lack of emunah, not let the situation, not let the person bother them. You have to be in control of all of that. It's hard to understand that Moshe Rabbeinu lost the schus to take the Jewish people into Eretz Yisrael. However, we don't have to look far. That is exactly what the Torah says. L'chein lo yisaviu es hakahal hazeh la'aretz asher nasati lehem. You are not going to be the one that brings them in, says the Rambam, because you were nisragis, because you got angry with Klal Yisrael. If you would have controlled yourself even in that moment, and again, we have to understand, if Moshe Rabbeinu got angry, he didn't look like our anger. He looked like a prince. He was a tzaddik. He was a navi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is talking to him as he's in a state of anger, which means he couldn't be angry the way that we are. But on his level, it was enough to get punished in such a way. I want to leave you off with a maisa. One of my son Yosef Shalom loves stories and story tapes. So I said, Yossi, you have a good story on Kas? He said, what about it? Someone who got angry or didn't get angry? I said, you have a story about someone who didn't get angry, controlled his Kas. So he says, hold on. He starts going through his story tapes over there. He said, oh, here, Tati, here's one. And he played me this following story. Amazing, amazing Maisa. There's a very chashuv Rosh Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael, a Nissim Kaplan. Nissim Kaplan is a very special person. Lots and lots of koiches, lots of energy. He comes to LA sometimes. It's worthwhile to go and see him when he's here. He's like a ball of fire of Kedusha. So somebody once came to visit him sometime shortly after Pesach, and they noticed there was a new picture that was hanging up in his dining room. And they asked him, Rabbi, what's such a beautiful picture? What is this picture all about? So he says, oh, this picture, let me tell you a story. He said, the last several months before Pesach came, I was busy giving Vadim classes on how to control your kas, your anger. And they were called the No Kas Vad, which means the group that no kas, we don't get angry, and they were working on it. They went through the sugyas, they went through the gemaras, they went through the psukim, they went through the Bali Musar, and they had exercises how to control your anger. He said, shortly before Pesach, I came to America, and I was going all around America, and I was speaking, and the one thing I was speaking about more than anything was, no kas, don't get angry, control your anger. As I'm on the plane ride back from America to Eretz Yisrael, just a week or so, 2 weeks before Pesach, I thought to myself, I spoke so much about controlling your anger, about no kas, no anger, and believing that everything comes from Hashem and saying it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu and not getting angry with anything. He said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm sure you must have some big tests coming my way in the world of kas, of anger. I just don't know what it's going to be, but if I talk about it so much, and I impress upon people so much how important it is, I'm sure there's an Isai, there's a test of anger coming my way. He lands in Eretz Yisrael, and that very day, he had surprised his wife that in order to get the house ready for Pesach, he hired painters, and they came. They knock on the door, and she says, what are you doing here? She said, we're here to paint your house for the up-and-coming holiday. And they painted their apartment in Yerushalayim, beautiful, fresh paint, all in honor of the Yom Tov of Pesach coming. The painters leave. There's another knock on the door. It's a whole cleaning crew. She said, can I help you? She said, yes, your husband sent us to clean the whole house for Pesach. Wow, unbelievable. And they end up coming and they clean the house spick and span. In the process of 1 or 2 days, she had a painted apartment, and everything was clean, was sparkling clean for Pesach. Okay? You got to start going shopping, getting the food, everything. So there they are, and they're in the house. She's looking around, marveling at how beautiful everything looks, and suddenly they hear, pshh. And they look around the apartment. What is that? Pshh. What is that? And the next thing they look in the kitchen, one of the pipes in the kitchen has exploded, and there is water shooting out everywhere in the apartment, on the brand new painted walls, on the spick and span floors, on the countertops, everything, water's all over the place. And Rav Nissan says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know that you're testing me right now. I'm not going to get angry. And he quickly calls the plumber. The plumber comes running over, turns off the water. And Baruch Hashem, they were able to salvage everything. And he spent the large part of that night sponging and cleaning and draining and getting rid of everything. Okay? Fine. The next day, Friday, Erev Shabbos, the wife is busy cooking. Rav Nissan Kaplan is going and shopping and getting all the things they need for Pesach and for Shabbos, so on and so forth. Friday night, they're having a delicious Suda. Suddenly they hear in the middle of the Suda, pshh, pshh. They're looking around. What is that? They look in the kitchen, no water in the kitchen. What's going on? And he hears it coming from outside. He looks and he sees the main pipe of their house has exploded and the water is shooting out onto the streets over there in Yerushalayim. And they turn off the valve. Baruch Hashem, the water stops. But now it's Friday night, and the Kaplan family has no water for the rest of Shabbos. They have a lot of little kids in the house. Not such an easy thing. No water. Baruch Hashem, the neighbors were very kind and took care of them. And he says, Hashem, I know you're testing me. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get angry. Shabbos is over. The plumber comes. He fixes the pipe. Everything is good. Okay? It's Sunday, and Pesach is now a few days away, and the kids are getting hungry. So the father says, okay, let me give you something to eat. He says, Mommy made some delicious fish before Shabbos. He goes into the fridge. He takes out the fish. He makes plates for all the kids. He puts it on the table. And the kid says, ugh, this is terrible. And his father says, we don't talk about food like that. No, Tati, smell it. It's horrible. It's terrible. It tastes terrible. So this captain looks at the plate. The fish looks fine. And he goes, oh my gosh, you're right. It smells terrible. It's off. What happened to the fish? He goes, he opens the fridge. The fridge is broken. It's not working. It's hot in the fridge. Gewalt. The fridge broke now too. The one pipe, then now the fridge. Hashem, I know you're testing me. I'm not going to get angry. Calls the repairman. The repairman comes, looks underneath this and that, fixes the whole thing up, and he says, 700 shekel. 700 shekel. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we have a fridge now that works. Fine. Here's the money. Have a good Yom Tov. Fine. And the wife says to her husband, she says, my dear husband, look, all the food in the fridge got spoiled. I need you to go back into Meir Shara and back into Gula. I need you to go buy all new food for Yom Tov. We don't have anything right now. Fish and meat and chicken, I need it all. No problem, he says. He goes into town and he starts buying all the food and he's schlepping and this and that. He comes in, he opens up the fridge to put everything back in. The fridge is still hot. It's not working. So he says to his wife, did you unplug? No, it's plugged in. So he calls the repairman. He says, Mr. Repairman, you remember me? Yeah, sure, Rabbi Kaplan, sure. So I just fixed your fridge. No, you didn't. The fridge is not working. He says, no, it's working. That's the way that these fridges work. You fix it, and in 24 hours it's going to start working. Don't worry. Trust me. I've seen it 100 times before. He said, no, I need you to come back here. I need you to see the fridge. We just spent 700 shekel. I've got a lot of food right now. I don't want this to spoil. He says, fine, I'll come. He takes a look, and he says, look, I'm telling you, in 24 hours, your fridge will be working, no problem. Okay? I'm going to trust you. Puts the food in there, and sure enough, short time later, they hear the motor start working, and the fridge is working. Fine, Baruch Hashem. He didn't finish shopping. He goes back into town. As he's in town, his phone rings. And his wife says, you'll never believe it. He says, what happened now? The oven! What happened to the oven? It's not working. It broke. The oven doesn't work. Yom Tov is tomorrow. The oven doesn't work. He said, okay, I'll buy you a new oven. And so if Nissan Kaplan, I'm not getting angry. I'm not going to get angry. This is all a test. And he goes to the store, appliance store, and he picks out an oven. And he says, deliver it right away. My wife needs it. And they start taking it, and they're going to go deliver it. He's still in the middle of Meir Sharm Gula, finishing up the shopping, everything he needs. The phone rings. It's his wife. Nissan, you're not going to believe it. What happened now? She said, you won't believe it. What happened now? She said, you remember the big sugar canister that we had in the house? Yes. And it was around the chametz all year long? Yes. And it has a lot of crumbs because whenever I cook, I have all my hands, my chametz hands are inside the sugar. Yes? Well, one of the kids took the canister and they shook it all over the house. It's all over the pots, all over the pans, all over the kitchen. It's everywhere right now. Everything became chametz. And he says, okay, I'm still in town. I'll go and I'll buy you some new pots and some new pans, and I'll get another round of food. Throw out whatever you want. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. He said, you are really testing me. I'm not going to get angry. He said, at that point, he said, I walked into a beautiful art store. And I looked on the walls of that art store and I saw this picture hanging. And I said to myself, you know, my wife and I just overcame such a nisayon, such a challenge of kas, of anger. I want to buy a picture to remind myself that any time that I get angry, anytime I start getting upset, I'm going to look at that picture to remind myself, just as I overcame all the other challenges of anger that HaKadosh Baruch Hu laid in front of me, I can overcome this challenge of anger as well. And I brought the picture, I brought it to my home, to my wife, Erev Yom Tiv, and I said, this is our no kas picture. Anytime that we get upset, anytime we get angry, just look at the picture and everything will be fine. Rabbi said, Moshe Rabbeinu made no mistakes. He did nothing wrong. Hashem found one tiny infraction. He expressed on his level a little bit too much anger against Klal Yisrael. We have to think to ourselves, what does our anger look like in our lives? How do we talk when we are under pressure? What's those nasty faces that we make to our spouses, to our children, to our friends, to our neighbors? What do we do? And if we're not in control of our anger, that means our anger is in control of us. And then we win nothing. Nothing at all. When the showdown comes and we scream and we yell and we make faces and we get angry and so you won nothing. You lost it all. Moshe Rabbeinu lost it all. What he would give to be in Eretz Yisrael. In Yetz Hashem, we will take the messages of the Parsha. We'll understand that you could be living in Gehenna in this world with the fires of kas, of anger, cooking underneath your feet and underneath yourself when you get angry. And in Yetz Hashem, the more that we are ma'aminin, that we believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we realize that everything that Hashem is doing and every person that Hashem is sending, it's all from Hashem to help us control our anger and not get upset and not fly off the handle. Then, like Hashem says, then you show me that you believe in me. And other people will admire you for what you are doing, how you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you control yourself. You'll inspire other people as well. Like the Sheni B'Soich B'nei Yisrael, and then there'll be Kiddush Shem Shemayim in the eyes of all of Klal Yisrael, and that will lead us to the greatest Kiddush Hashem of all, and that is the moment that we've all been waiting for, which is the Bias Goyal Tzedek, the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, B'mheira V'yameinu. You're welcome. Good to see you.